Hi, you're on the Alice Reddit Stories channel. Subscribe to my channel as well as my Facebook page. There we can chat. The link is in the description of the video. Thank you. Enjoy watching. Story 1. My partner, 21, wants to get married to me, 18, for PR. So, me, F18, and she, MTF21, we started dating on October 3rd, and within the span of 2 months I've broken up with her twice for reasons that made no sense and due to my anxiety of things I created in my head and my anxiety of commitment. So, I live with 3 other people who are my roommates. My partner has her own place she pays for, but because she's with me 24/7, she's basically been living with me and my housemates and is good friends with all of them. One of my roommate's friends also has basically been living with us since they're with us 24/7, and we've all become good friends. We're like a tight-knit family. I recently ended things again on November 27th because I needed a break. That same day we had a long and intense conversation about her marrying me for PR. Her feelings were very hurt because, well, if you're in a relationship, do you not expect your partner to get out their comfort zone and do this important thing for you so it could remove a lot of stress off your shoulders and you can feel at ease knowing you're officially safe? I was very against getting married, and I can understand why she felt sad because she clarified to me she was mostly sad because of the way I was disagreeing. I was like, marriage? Never. And I thought that was the same thing as I'm not ready to get married. I was really against it, and she was so sad and cried for a very long time. Even one of my housemates overheard our conversation and offered to get married to her. She doesn't understand how a stranger would do such a thing, but not the person she's in a relationship with. A marriage isn't the only way to get PR, but you can also get a skillful job, and that can also give you PR. Though, the marriage is more of a guarantee than the job, considering if they decided to hire you or not. I did only a tiny bit of research, and it seems financial responsibility falls under me if someone marries me for PR. She told me I don't ever have to worry about the financial stuff because she's never going to be poor to that point where I have to start paying off things. Her mom can also help her for finances and stuff. I'm dependent on my parents for everything. All I do is go to school, do homework, and enjoy my time exploring new hobbies. So, if anything financial fell on me, I don't know what to do. She said she knows how to do all the paperwork and stuff like that, so I don't have to worry. She said she'd even explain it all to my parents. I haven't told any family I'm in a relationship. Here's the thing. If she doesn't get a skillful job or marry by a certain time, she will be deported and have to do the military service and will die. She'll also serve jail time due to some false things on her documents. I asked her how she's sure she'll die, and she's told me she's thought about this situation and has gone over it so many times, and that's what she will do if she has to. She even said if I don't marry, I'm the one killing her because I can prevent it, but I choose not to. She also said if I don't marry, she'll break up with me. She also said me refusing to marry her is very selfish considering I can prevent all this. I immediately told her that what she was saying was extremely manipulative and unfair. Later on, she acknowledged that she was being manipulative and apologized. I accepted the apology because it was clear she was coming from a desperate place. Anyone in her position would be extremely desperate. Asked her if she felt okay now knowing that someone was willing to marry her for the PR, but she said she's mostly sad because that person isn't me. Yes, she's grateful that her friend offered, but it doesn't feel right because they're not me. And she also doesn't like using people. After that long conversation, I told her I needed a break from our relationship and don't know if I can do long-term since I'm more into short-term. Which isn't true, I am into long-term relationships, but I didn't know if I could do long-term with her specifically. She was shocked at first because she got into the relationship with long-term on her mind. She even said we can extend the break for a month, and after winter break, a decision can be made about our relationship. Throughout our break, we were consistently still together in the same room and everything. Since she's here 24/7, my housemates consoled her a lot while she was sad and crying. She said the break would consist of us not willingly talking together and engaging in a long conversation, basically ignoring each other, unless we were in a group conversation. Our break lasted 1 week long as December 5th. We discussed again and she said she only wants to continue our relationship if I'm ready to commit. That hypothetically, if our relationship is doing well in 1 to 2 years, that I can consider the possibility of us getting married. I expressed again that marriage is really a big thing. Then she told me that yes, it's a big thing, but it doesn't affect me whether or not I do or don't. But it definitely affects her because if she doesn't get married in time, she'll be deported and bad things will happen. She said this is something she expects from a lover. That if I do love her as much as I claim, I would be open to the idea of marrying if anything. As a lover, I would care for her safety and make sure she's okay. I was trying to explain that yes, I do love her a lot, but marriage is really something else. We're also students and go to the same university. I'm a first year and she's a second year. She told me it's just signing some papers and all that, everything is the piece of paper. We obviously still would have to live together. She said that when we get married, I can even divorce a few months or a year later, which I really liked that idea. So, now we're back together and she now feels secure in our relationship because of that decision. Many things can change within a year and that's all I can say. We may or may not still be together, I don't know. By the way, she's super in love with me and everything about me, very heavily, and lets me know a lot. She also made me realize that the way I ended things was immature, and so I also apologized and said next time, if I feel the need to end things, it would be a valid reason and I would end it in a mature way by expressing real reasons as to why.as. I think now, I genuinely don't know if I'm ready for something like that. I've thought about it really hard and I just don't think I can marry at the moment. We've been together for 2 to 3 months and she acknowledged that and understood. Even with divorce being an option. But I know PPL change their mind all the time given time. And I know if I break up with her again, she'll be absolutely devastated and so tremendously sad. She expressed she'll never talk to me again, which is very fair. By the way, my roommates do know, somewhat, that we ended the second time because I didn't want to get married. The thing is, everyone here has some sort of depression or mental health awareness issue and they used to trauma dump a lot within each other to the point a higher up visited us so often to make sure we were okay, and we had to set boundaries of the things we couldn't bring up in our living space. So, I believe they mostly sympathize with my partner because of everything she goes through and can relate in some way. Being misgendered, dysphoria, depression, anxiety, internalized transphobia, cries 2 to 5 times a day for hours, etc. They stayed up with her until 2 a.m. to make sure she was feeling okay after we broke up the second time. So, they see everything from a therapy level and sympathize a lot and make sure they're not stepping boundaries. I understand if they always help her out since I'm usually mentally stable and I'm not going through anything heavy, but I also know the type of future I want and the type of person I want to be with. TLDR, my partner wants to get married in about 2 years for her prairie. I was very against it since all I know is that it's serious, but she told me it's just signing papers and it's all good. I've broken up with her twice and this is the third time, but we're back together again because she said she'll only be with me if I'm ready for commitment. She said the financial responsibility won't be on me since she'll always have a lot of money to pay things off, and if anything she has her mom. She's told me I don't need to worry about any legal stuff since she'll take care of it. I'm dependent on my parents, and I'm not ready to legally be independent of them. I also think it's too early for me to marry, but she's told me I shouldn't be worried since it has no real big effect on me. But I should be thinking about her life, of her being deported back, which is why I should marry. Don't forget to support my channel by subscribing, thank you. Story 2.aita for not wanting to name my child after my late husband? Me, 31, and my current husband, 35, recently found out that we were expecting twin boys, and my first husband's mother is livid that we aren't naming one of them after her son. A little background. My first husband, Michael, and I were college sweethearts. We got married not long after graduation, and I thought I would be with him for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, we were only married for a couple of months before Michael passed away suddenly. It was one of the worst times in my life, and I never thought that I would ever fall in love again, much less get married again or have a family. I remained very close with Michael's mom, my MIL, and she was very supportive when I eventually started dating again. Not long after I met my current husband, John, I took him to her house so that they could meet. She was so excited to meet him, and I remember going to the bathroom and crying tears of relief that she wasn't angry at me for moving on. When John and I got married, she was so happy for me, and on my wedding day, she took me aside and told me that she knew Michael was happy for me too. It meant so much to me to hear her say that. Earlier this year, John and I found out that we were pregnant. At first, MIL was ecstatic, making jokes about being a bonus grandma and asking to help plan the gender reveal party and baby shower. But then when the subject of names came up, she was shocked that we weren't planning to name the baby after Michael. I explained to her that if it was a boy, we were going to name him after John's father. I could tell she wasn't happy, but she seemed to accept it. Things took a turn for the worst after my 20-week ultrasound, when we found out that I was carrying twin boys. When I told her the news, she flat out told me that I had to name one of the babies after Michael, or she would never forgive me. When I told her that we weren't going to do that, she absolutely flipped, saying that I was betraying the memory of her son. I tried to make her understand that as much as I love and miss Michael, that chapter of my life is over, and I feel like it's disrespectful to John to insist on naming one of his children after another man. At first John said that he would be fine with it if it was what I wanted, but eventually he admitted that the idea made him uncomfortable and never want to make my MIL think that I've forgotten Michael or that he wasn't important to me, but I don't want to name one of my children after him either. And honestly, I don't think he would have wanted me to. There are better ways of remembering him than giving his name to a child that will never have any real connection to him. Tried explaining this to MIL, but she just wouldn't hear it. She told me that she would never speak to me again if I didn't name one of the babies after her son. She's been a really important part of my life, and I don't want to lose her, but at the same time, I feel like she's giving me an unfair ultimatum. Ida? Update. Wow. Blown away by all the feedback and support. We are hosting in-laws, John's parents, so I can only add a short update for now, but I promise to leave a longer one when they go home in a couple of days. For now, I just want to address a few things I saw in the comments. A lot of you wanted clarification as to how long Michael has been gone. It will be 10 years this October, and no, Michael is not his real name. Any names that I've included in the post have been changed to protect anonymity. A lot of you also wondered why I am still close with his mother after so long. I probably should have included this in the original post for context, but there are a couple of reasons for this. Michael was an only child and his father was never in the picture, and she has virtually no other family left besides a handful of cousins who live across the country. Over the years, she's been my steadfast supporter, always the first to encourage me to live my life and be happy. Funnily enough, I might not have met John if it wasn't for her. A friend of mine had set me up with him on a blind date, and I almost backed out. The only reason I didn't was because my ex-MIL convinced me to go. Honestly, she is the last person I ever would have expected this from, which is why I've found it so hard to deal with. A lot of you have said this is probably her being forced to finally deal with a lot of unprocessed grief, and I think that's probably true. I think at some point I stopped thinking of her as my MIL and started thinking of her as a friend. I thought that she'd come to think of me in the same way, but now I'm realizing that at least a part of her still sees me as Michael's wife. I'm hopeful that we will find a way to work it out, but I am prepared to let her go if it comes to that, even though it would make me terribly sad. To those of you who said I should start putting up some boundaries with her, you're probably right. I honestly, though all of the bonus grandma jokes were harmless at first, but now I have started to think otherwise. I don't want to make any rash decisions yet until we've both had a chance to calm down, but as things stand now, she has a lot of work to do in the way of regaining my trust. As to where I stand on the name issue, I am not going to name either of my children after Michael. For those of you who were worried I might cave on the issue, don't be, it was never an option. I briefly considered doing something with a middle name, but ultimately decided against it. I don't want to burden either of my children by naming them after a man they will never have any connection to. As to how we honor Michael's memory, every year, John and I go visit his grave on his birthday. It was actually John who started the tradition, the year we got engaged, and we haven't missed a year since. Maybe someday when they're old enough, we'll take the boys. I don't know how exactly, but I'm sure I'll find a way to explain to them who Michael was and what he meant to me. For those of you who asked if this was having a negative impact on my marriage, the answer is no. John has been my rock through the entire pregnancy, and his only concern during this ordeal has been my emotional well-being. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that if I wanted to name one of these babies after Michael, that he would let me and never say a word about it, no matter how much it hurt him. Which makes me even more determined not to cave on the issue because I refuse to repay his selflessness with selfishness. As to where things stand with Xmil and I, Mysael, brother's wife, is good friends with her, they teach together at the same school, so right now she's acting as a sort of go-between. She says that she thinks Xmil is having a long overdue emotional breakdown. We both agree that she has avoided fully processing her grief and now it's all coming to a boiling point. She's pushing hard to get her to see a therapist, and I'm hopeful that we can salvage at least some of our relationship. But if not, I'll find a way to live with it. And finally, to the handful of commenters who insinuated that I am still in love with Michael and that I'm not being fair to John, let me just say that until you've been in my shoes you won't understand. Michael and I were very young when we got married. I loved him very much and he will always, always have a place in my heart, but John is absolutely the love of my life. It took me years of therapy, but I don't feel guilty about it anymore. I meant to do this sooner, but it has been a wild month. As it turns out, carrying two human beings inside of you takes a bit of a toll, and lately, I've been feeling it. As of yesterday, I'm at 32 weeks, which means we're officially out of the danger zone if the boys decide to come early, but hopefully they'll stay where they are for a little while longer. John and I were advised by a friend that we should give them names that mean something to us as a couple. So we decided to name them for our favorite Tom Hanks characters, as it was our mutual love of the actor that we first bonded over. Hint, neither of them will be named Forrest. One of them will be named after a character who starred alongside Meg Ryan. Since I made this post, it has come to light that Xmil has a serious problem with alcohol. I never realized this before, because apparently, she was very good at hiding it. Also, I've been told that while she has been nothing but supportive and kind to my face, she has made some very unkind comments about me and John behind our backs. She's even told some people that I cheated on Michael, her son, with John, even though I didn't even meet him until several years after Michael died. We went and see 2 weeks ago, and it makes me very sad, because Michael adored his mother and it would break his heart to see her like this. Because as awful as she's been to me lately, I know it's just because she's in pain. Still, I know he would understand why I've decided to cut her out of my life. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, there are a lot of interesting stories ahead of you.